Well, hello there, community. I am Jason Rom, one of your two hosts for today on Build It Live. And this is, I think, our sixth or seventh episode of this series. Aubrey will keep me honest here when I bring him on here in a second. I think this is number 7. And, we went through. Well, I'm going to bring Aubrey on now. Aubrey. So, got you scratching your head. So, bonus for me. So anyway, this is number 7, right? Because we went through our first 5 episodes and built it fumbling through as we were learning. And then our last episode, we actually did it all. Everything we learned in the first 5, we redid, and we did an hour, right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is in fact the 7th. Yes,
this is number 7. So yeah, we're really excited, and we're going to layer on a new service today. And we're going to look at synthetic monitoring, and we'll bring on our guest here in a couple minutes, maybe less than a couple minutes. I don't know. We're going to be crazy today. And so I'm coming at you maybe for the last time from the state of Illinois, where I reside. I actually got a closing date on my house next month. So it's been a 12-month build. We're finally near the end. And so in the month of August, I will no longer be a resident of Illinois. I will move to Kansas City to be closer to family and friends that from college and all that. My grandbabies are there in Kansas City, so I'm excited about that. Aubrey, how's your summer going?
It's going pretty good. It's nice. Honestly, we were talking about PTO before this, and it's been just good to kind of get a chance to decompress a little bit. And for me, it's a little different. I'm experiencing the first week in a long time of having no children. So like I've got my kids are out and about and in separate spots. And so my wife and I are kind of like, holy cow, things get done.
When your and kids don't get are messy, not home. Right?
Yeah, the house is clean. What? It's like, and I got tons of time to do whatever. So
yeah. Yeah, it's a little eerie. We adopted. We have a little 5-year-old boy. So we've been new parents of young children for the last 5 years. But when my youngest was 12, 13, they were all kind of at that age where they would go do like camps or whatever. And there were days here and there where it was completely silent in the house. It was almost eerie, right? Because you're used to crash bang, kids, fighting and all that, and it's like quiet. And it's like you hear all the noises in your house maybe for the first time. You're like, what was that?
Exactly. And don't ever tell them, but I miss them both. It's just nuts. I didn't, thought I'd really love the breakaway, but I do miss my kids.
Yep. Yeah. And you're not too far away from, too many years away from the onset of empty nest syndrome, right? So it's 5 years. Okay. Yeah.
5.
I'm a good 13 away from that. So I was telling you before show, I'll be in my 60s before that happens, but I'm not, I'm not in a hurry. I love having the kiddos around. I think every stage is a challenge, right? You just have different challenges.
Definitely. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, let's bring on Evan. Let's get this kicked off. Evan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So how's your summer going? We don't want to leave you out of the conversation. What's capturing your interest in the summer months?
It's really just been trying to figure out what's going on with New York's weather. I mean, one day it's like in a complete apocalypse. You can't see 10 feet in front of you from all the wildfires and smoke. And the other day it's like a torrential downpour of rain with thunder just scaring the heck out of my dog.
So you're down by the city?
Yeah, I'm over in Brooklyn.
Bushwick, okay, I'm way up in a far west north suburb called Rochester, New York.
Oh, no way. We'll have to meet in the middle somewhere upstate.
Upstate to you guys is like Orange and Dutchess County, though, right? It's like
yeah, exactly. we I haven't spoken to anybody from the Southwest dealing with the like 115 degrees per day heat wave that they're in right now, but I'm glad that's not me.
I was crazy enough to actually go fly down to New Mexico a couple of weeks ago, and I got some of that 105, and it's brutal. I was actually tinkering around trying to set up some Linux servers in my partner's dad's backyard so I could control his hot tub and pool remotely, and I ended up basically frying a board just from being out in too much of a heat. had to put up like a little parasol so I could keep working.
Man, I went hiking in Phoenix in 117. That's the hottest I've endured, and being outside in that is just, God, it's creepy. You don't even sweat. I mean, well, you do sweat. It's just you don't feel it. It's just gone the second it comes out of your pores. So.
Yeah, I definitely sweat. Real quick, and then we'll get started. I was in New Mexico on my Route 66 trip back in 2011. We were with the family. It was 115 degrees. We did hiking, and we were hiking to the Mystery Stone in New Mexico. It's on public lands. You had to get a permit and all that. Well, anyway, we got lost, and it was 115. We had everybody had 2 bottles of water, but by the time we were lost and all that, we were down to like the last third of a bottle from anyone. We put the kids under a tree. My wife is hiking up one peak. I'm hiking up another peak to try and get cell service to find out how we can get back to our car. It was scary. We almost died 4 times on that Route 66 trip, but we're still here, so it's all good.
Did you notice that Aubrey and I both took some sips of water listening to this story? Just like, oh man, I'm getting thirsty.
I got thirsty immediately.
That's right, Jose. Hello, great to see you.
We never see Jose. He's
never on. Now he's from Chile, and I guess it's winter down there, so maybe he is chilly. Bad pun. Sorry.
Chile and Chile.
I'm here all day. I got a show at like 4:00 Central. So, okay. So Evan, we're going to talk about synthetic monitoring. So, what is synthetic monitoring?
Yeah, so synthetic monitoring is basically a service that allows you to simulate HTTP and DNS requests from the user perspective to make sure that your applications are performing as expected. So it sounds like over the past 6 or 7 episodes, y'all have gone through and deployed your application. So now that that's successfully up and running, publicly available, the next step that we really want to consider is observability and making sure that your end users can get to the places that they need to go. So we all know that application outages are frustrating. They're frustrating for everyone, whether you're the end user just trying to buy a pair of sunglasses, or the app owner, SecOps, or DevOps team that gets pulled into some sort of crisis room for incident response. The longer the issue takes to resolve, the more pain everybody feels. And let me walk you through a typical outage scenario. The incident might start and end users can't get to your application. They're already frustrated. After a certain amount of time, after enough users are impacted, an application team might get notified that there's an issue, and they'll have detected that there's an issue. That's the mean time to detect. Once that issue is detected, again, people might get pulled into this crisis room with engineers from across the company to figure out what the issue is. And then once that gets identified, the fix might be as simple as rolling back the last deployment or a run book that is known but just got missed. So what we've actually found in the field is that a majority of issues are not being detected prior to impacting end users. Now, add on top of that, the application landscape is just growing more and more complex. There's more pieces in the application deployment. There are more applications to track, and people just really need tools to be able to keep up with that and automate the process so that they can avoid these outage scenarios that are impacting end users. So again, that's exactly why we built synthetic monitoring. We simulate user HTTP and DNS requests from regions around the world so that you can constantly know that your application is performant, available, and meets the uptime that you're trying to meet. You can do so from 30 different regions around the world. Actually, I believe it's 33 today, and growing. But we also allow for different providers that you can monitor from. The reason that's important is because you want to make sure that you have an unbiased perspective of your application health and performance. And what I mean by that is if you're, say, hosted using AWS, you might not want to monitor from AWS infrastructure, because if there is an outage situation that's actually in AWS's infrastructure, your monitoring would also be down.
Actually,
So we really
a real quick story on that. When I worked for an ISP way back in the day, I was doing BGP network statement maintenance, and I pulled a route or a network statement out of BGP, and it was the /19, not the /20. It was like a /25 or something like that for the customer that I was supposed to be pulling out. So I infected, pretty much impacted all of the Seattle customers instead of the one customer. But when he called and said, "Hey, I'm not really working," I logged into my my router in Seattle and said, "You're fine. All the traffic from you to Seattle is fine." But then I backed out of that city into a different region, and it's like, oh, yeah, I see the problem now. So it's like, to your point, it's like, when your proximity is where your traffic is, it's really hard to have a clear view of the impact of what's going on.
definitely,
And
especially
sorry,
as
Seattle
applications.
of 1996.
No, that's a really important point to make, especially as applications become distributed more globally too, and our end users are actually spread out across the world.
So is that
so
is that essentially being, so are these monitors coming from REs?
yeah, that's a really good question. So we have, again, two different providers. You can choose from F5 distributed cloud, which would be in the regional edges. We also actually run our own regional monitoring services in our own customer edges that are deployed in AWS. So it's all securely managed through F5 distributed cloud infrastructure. But again, to give that unbiased perspective, we wanted to make sure that you could choose from, say, AWS or our own regional edges.
Makes sense. Okay.
The added benefit to that is every time a new distributed cloud regional edge comes online, we also happen to gain a new location to monitor from. A good example of this is Sao Paulo coming on recently in Brazil. We're quickly working to get that incorporated into a new site that can be used for synthetic monitoring.
Nice.
Nice.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And then also, AWS happens to have a lot of regions that we could deploy in. We've chosen a specific subset, but if there is a need to put regional monitoring services in any specific region or country, we can always take that in as a feature request and make it happen, because we want to make sure that we can enable our customers to monitor from places where are representative of their end users. All right, I'll quickly jump through so we can get to some of the cool stuff of building it live. Just a quick overview of some of the stuff in the product. We do have a summary dashboard of all of your applications that you're monitoring, so you can quickly see a holistic view of your application health and performance, as well as certificate and TLS posture over time. From there, you can dig in a little bit deeper and go into detailed monitors where you can quickly visualize and correlate health events over time. So in this example here on the right, we can see that we saw a critical event in US West 1. We see a giant spike in latency at around that same time. And we can see that we were also getting an invalid response code from what we were expecting. So that would immediately lead me to believe that I should probably check out some of my infrastructure in US West 1 and call that team for the West Coast. In addition to just our HTTP monitors, any HTTPS monitor also gets, for free, just a TLS report that gets generated daily. So we actually monitor your HTTPS endpoints, summarize your TLS posture into a single score and grade, as well as test for known exposed vulnerabilities from a TLS perspective. And then the last portion of what we've got going here is around DNS monitors. So we also enable customers to understand the latency of both custom and global name server responses for your application. So making sure that your DNS infrastructure is configured appropriately and responding as expected, so your end users can get to where they need to go. And yeah, that's really it for what I have for the presentation, if we want to just jump right into it.
let's build some stuff.
Yeah, I'm
That's
excited.
great.
Now, was there already some, I guess, pre-existing data that was built up against our app? Was that what you were telling me, Jason? Do we want to?
Yeah, I think Evan, you had some. We're taking a look at our the app that we had deployed.
Yeah, let me share my browser screen real quick.
Yeah, before we even, get to deploying it, I'm curious to see what's there. And hey, Daniel, how are you?
Daniel, good to see you.
Okay, and then Evan, I'm putting you back in. Oh,
Nope.
I got you. You got it. Yes.
There we go. Play a little screen tag.
Too many producers.
All right, so can everybody see my distributed cloud console?
Yep.
Yes.
Good to go.
Sweet. So we are under the observability tile for those that are familiar with the console. I'll dig right in here. Oh, give me 1 second. I'm gonna log back in real quick.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with that one. If anyone doesn't know, the distributed cloud is pretty tight on its logins, which I love. Not everyone loves it, but I like that it will boot you out so that you don't just leave yourself exposed. All right, you're back in?
Yep.
There you go.
Good to go. All right, so I've navigated to the observability tile. I'm going to switch over to my build it live namespace. And we can see here already we've got, I've got 3 monitors running right now. And it looks like a couple of them have gone critical. So we can take a look at that. So I believe this is jrtest2.xe.jimmypackets.com is the application that you deployed previously. So I'm gonna give a quick little hint here that I've actually configured this to be critical for a specific purpose. If we look at this configuration really quickly, you'll see that I have specified a receive string blooper, which is non-existing in this application. So it is just Nginx here in the front, but because the string blooper isn't in the response, it's considering it critical. Just wanted to show a little bit about that functionality. But if we go into this correct one, we can see some initial details here. So you get a quick overall global summary view of how your monitor or how your application is doing from a health perspective. You can see that it's healthy, it has a really good TLS score. Cert is fine for expiration. It's got a steady trend and some summary metrics around your latency. You can also see which portions of your response time are taking up the most time. So it looks like server processing is the majority of this. DNS lookup seems like it's being pretty responsive, which is always good to see. And we can see that we are healthy out of the 2 regions that I'm monitoring from, US East and US West. We can also see the response time by region noted here over time, as well as an events table, which will give you a historic look at your healthy and critical status over time, as well as a cool little map that you can explore here to see how your regions are doing from a visual perspective. If you want to dive into a more detailed view, you can also check out this response time breakdown by region and see, again, sort of that response time breakdown by region and see if you need to do any optimization, say, in US West versus US East.
And so that server processing, at least if I'm going to talk through the process, that TCP handshake, or TLS handshake rather, that's happening to our HTTP load balancer at the distributed cloud RE, right? So if you're going from US East, depending on which one it's selected, RE, I think the 3 REs we have is Toronto. Where's your other one? Actually, let's just go through this and then we can take a look at it when we get into our tenant. Because I'm curious if that server processing is really just RCEs taking time, because that seems like a ridiculously long amount of time to process an Nginx default page. And so I don't know if that's tunnel issues between our CE and our REs? Is that really just our CEs being slow at doing what they're doing? So anyway, that'll be a good show for us to kind of take a look at. It's like, hey, now that we have synthetic monitoring, let's actually go through the troubleshooting effort of finding out how long this stuff is actually taking to work its way through distributed cloud and where we might be able to optimize.
Yeah, I'm excited for what this is going to bring to us. I mean, if you think about the application, which is, podcast delivery, this should be able to tell us, if there are any performance issues anywhere on the globe, and making sure that people can get the healthiest pull possible. Yeah,
and really 268 milliseconds to download an audio file. I mean, that's not really going to be an issue. I think if we were doing like hosting any kind of like live live streaming type stuff on that might be something we'd need to optimize and troubleshoot. But just to go through the process to optimize it, I think will be a fun show to do. This is cool.
Agreed. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. A couple more things that I'd like to point out here. So going back to this global view, we can actually, again, dive deeper into that TLS report. You can see that the overall grade is an A, final score of 96. Good that we're not offering SSL V2 or V3. If we want more detail, we can also open this as a PDF and check out what's going on. Okay. There we go. Ooh, twice. All right, so again, that testing protocol is offered, 1.2, 1.3. Love to see it. If we keep scrolling down, there's a lot of information on the test use, ciphers in use, etc. And
we don't see your PDF though. We're just seeing your browser.
You're still seeing our okay.
Just the tab.
Let's see. Yeah. Okay. I'll have to. I wasn't sharing the whole window. Give me just one sec. Maybe it'll be. I'll just share the whole window. Whoa.
Beautiful.
Going on into infinity there. Love it. All right. So again, here's the TLS detailed report that we've opened up, testing protocols being used. And then if we scroll down a little bit here, we can see some of the vulnerabilities that have been tested for. Looks like there are no vulnerabilities from this scan, so that's always good to see. And again, this just runs once daily, so you get a daily check of just these known vulnerabilities.
These are just TLS vulnerabilities piled up here. That's what we're looking at. Just TLS.
Correct. Yep, okay. Just TLS vulnerabilities.
Well, that's helpful because as your pipelines are changing your deployments and all that kind of stuff, it's nice to have that safety check.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. And then the last part I'll note here is just how the grade was determined, as well as if there's any reason to cap the grade. For example, if you were offering a lower, like an SSL protocol, you'd probably cap it like a C, for example. But yeah, always fun to explore this live and see if there's any vulnerabilities. More often than not, there's usually at least one, which is interesting to see.
Was that we scored a 96? Is that right?
And that was for free. We didn't do anything except click a button. So we didn't even try. We didn't even try, and we got an A. So that's kudos to the XC platform for taking care of us.
Yes.
Yep. Love to see it.
It'd be interesting, just I'm putting it out there to have a show that how can we get that score to 100?
Well, yeah, we could insert some. I think the only difference there is the HSTS header, right? So we could insert the HSTS header, and then we'll get to 100. So maybe we'll do that.
Okay, be fun.
Another quick thing that I'll note here is so again, I made this build it live monitor to intentionally look for a string in the response that doesn't exist. Yep. So that's why it's critical. You can see here. It's not matching the expected valid response strings. What I wanted to highlight here is that it goes directly into the distributed cloud alert system. So there will be an active alert as soon as a monitor goes critical. And then if you tie it into the different alert receivers that distributed cloud has, You can, for example, put in a Slack receiver, PagerDuty, OpsGenie, etc. There's also, I believe, a generic outgoing webhook coming in the near future, which means that you can tie into any of your existing triage and outage and issue workflows.
Nice. So we could put a webhook in Teams to go out and check our, check our alert receivers.
Exactly. So you could integrate in with Teams in the future here, and as soon as again one of these monitors goes critical, you would get an alert notification, and you could start immediately triaging that issue rather than having to wait for your customers to call in.
What is the default interval of the synthetic monitoring? And is it configurable?
Yep. I'll give you a quick look at the actual config. So you can specify, you have to specify a name, Jason, and the URL that you're trying to monitor. And then you can specify the interval. Default is 1 minute, but you can go anywhere from 30 seconds up to a day.
Okay.
Something quick to highlight here as well. We do allow for most of the HTTP REST request types. So if you wanted to say test a login flow, for example, you could also post the appropriate content with some test user credentials and make sure that your end users can log in or add things to carts, etc., to mimic the entire workflow.
Nice.
That's cool. I love it.
Yep.
There are a ton of big IP users, I think, that will want that sort of feature.
Right.
I would imagine.
Definitely. You can also specify request headers if you needed to say test from, I don't know, Mozilla. You can specify what response codes you're expecting to see, and we do allow for wildcarding here. So you can say 2** for everything in the 200s, or you can be explicit and say, I want to see a 200. And you can specify server name indication host overrides if there's a specific origin server you're trying to get to, as well as the receive string. So this is, if we put in, say, nginx, and actually, here, we can go back to Jimmy packets. We can actually specify nginx. I'm going to change this back to anything in the 200s. Here again, we can select our provider, whether it's our AWS CEs or our F5 distributed cloud regional edges. Let's say New York, Seattle, San Jose. And as quickly as that, you can create a monitor. One last thing I'll note here too is this being the distributed cloud native, it's all API first as well. So anything that you can do in the UI, you can also do via API, which is super helpful in automation and scripting. If you have, say, 200 applications that you're trying to monitor, it can be kind of burdensome to go through the UI to create all of them. I've got some simple scripts in just like Jupyter notebooks for POCs and things like that, where you can create 200 monitors for your applications from some kind of config file in about 5 minutes.
So we've got a question from the community as well. Is this just wildcards, or will regular expressions also work there?
In the receive string portion, it also follows a regex format, so you can get pretty robust with what you want to look for.
Great.
How far into the payload does it check the whole payload, or does it cap out? Because I know, like with big IP monitors or whatever, it would only check the first. I don't remember where it was, but whatever string you were checking for had to be within the first, X number of bytes.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there are some limitations on how far into the response body we will go. I don't have the exact number of bytes off the top of my head, but it's something that I could get with our engineering team and get back to y'all about if that works.
Sure, would love to know. We got another question here too. It's great people are out there and contributing. So does this support checking rendered web pages? If so, does it play well with pages that are rendered client side? So if your rendering happens on the client side rather than direct on the site.
Yeah, so right now, in its current iteration, it's pretty much single page single page applications. So rendering on client side isn't something that'll be really easily configurable. But if that is something that is a feature request, always happy to take comments from customers in the field and incorporate it into the product roadmap.
Awesome. So Trendy Wins 42. If you want to hit us up at community.f5.com, we can definitely try and help you with that sort of request. It does sound pretty sweet. Regarding the prior question about regex, also, he was asking about status codes, it looks like. Do you know if the status codes will take regex?
That is a good question that I don't have the answer to off the top of my head, but I can also note that one down.
And Daniel, why would you put that evil in for status codes? Regular. And we got some thank yous out there as well. So thank you, Evan, for tidying up those questions. I'm itching to get this thing in our tenant. Are we?
Yeah, let's build something.
You want me to?
Sweet.
I can put my screen up here and see if I'm still logged in. We'll see. We can switch over to DNS monitors, and yeah, it looks like I am. Okay, so I'm already in the observability tab. So taking it back out, just want to show everyone, this is the home screen here. If I go into observability, well, before we do that, even let's take a look at our application. So the app, if we want to just take a look at it fast, should be visible. Not the site map, but in app traffic. It's not showing me sites, which is pretty interesting.
You're in the default namespace. Go to our namespace and might show up.
Thank you. Yeah, that has bit me a million times. There we go. App traffic. So this is what it looks like coming into the application live right now. We're taking traffic in from the public internet into these 4 REs, going back down into CEs, customer edge nodes that exist in our homes. So
are those our endpoints? San Jose and what's Ash? Is that
Asheville? Yeah, I think
I don't know where that is.
No, Ashburn, Virginia, right?
Okay,
I think that's right. Yeah.
So earlier I was on Toronto and Dallas. That's interesting that I'm connected out to San Jose. That might actually speak to why from US East, I'm bouncing across the country a few times in that round trip.
And if Daniel Wolf visits the application, then we're going to see an RE inbound that's overseas more than likely. So
yeah,
that's these are just the REs where the Anycast is is best for our clients. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the app, real simple. And I guess if we want to add things, am I going straight to observability and adding?
Yep.
Now, one thing that's funny, you did mention, API compatibility and whatnot. And one of the things that I had thought about before the show with Jason was, well, I could probably just ask Evan for a JSON paste, and
you could definitely do that.
Paste the whole monitor in, right? I mean, but let's go through the process and make sure that we kind of get people an idea.
Yeah, so we share with the class.
Yes, that's right. So we'll do a ClickOps and then the JSON paste. Maybe we'll blow it all away and try it again. I don't know. Or make a second monitor. So I guess, what do you want to call this thing here? We'll just synth 1. Oh, yeah. All lowercase. So what are we monitoring here? Are we doing one combined, or we're doing the what is my URL?
I just posted URL in comments there, but I can put it in the private chat too, just so you can pick it up real quick. That's where we're going.
Thank you
for now.
All right, copy and paste. There it is. jrtest2.xc.jimmypackets.com. So there was a question about the interval, right? 1 minute. Default to 1 minute. Let's do it to get. So let's see. Request headers. What do we want to see here?
Those are optional, right? So if we had any kind of I'm guessing that's so you can allow some traffic in. They're just like, hey, I understand that this is monitor traffic coming in, so you could log it as such, or prioritize it so it looks good. Or I don't know. You probably want it to be worst case scenario, right? Because ultimately this is to help you identify problems. But if you wanted to game the system for your management or whatever, you could prioritize that kind of traffic to special place.
All right. Well, so then I guess what do we want our receive string to be?
Oh, you could do welcome. Or you could do the whole welcome to Nginx there with the exclamation. Is that a receive string? Is that does that automatically string to lower that, or is it case sensitive?
I rule syntax there, string to lower.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Will that auto lowercase the whole thing?
I don't believe so. I think.
Okay. Well, if it's good Unix, it should be case sensitive, right? That's a POSIX.
That's right. A string is a string, right?
Yes.
Say what you mean what you say.
So if we just start with the base welcome and see where we go, because honestly, I want to do it the easy way first, I guess. Mm-hmm. Then where we monitor from, eh?
All right. So is there a place in Germany, or is this all Northwest or?
You can get EU West 2. I don't know if that's exactly Germany, but
we got EU. Yeah, EU West 2. We'll do it.
That way we can see what Daniel's experience is and work to make Daniel. We're going to work to make your experience better, and so we'll get an idea of what your experience is with our test app, and we will make it better for you.
I'm guessing this is Asia Pac East 1. Let's do Asia Pac East 1 also.
Okay. And you want to put a US point maybe somewhere in the Midwest? Is there a Dallas? Where's the Dallas area?
There is a Dallas under the F5 distributed cloud.
Okay. Yeah, let's throw one in. Let's get crazy. Let's throw one in distributed cloud.
Yeah,
there's actually Frankfurt as well. And you can multi-select here too. So just if you click, they'll just keep getting added.
Okay.
Ooh. Well, we want to make sure our Canadian friends are okay. I mean, we got somebody on from Ottawa, and Frankfurt and Dallas.
Dallas, there you go.
Look at that. Okay, that's pretty easy.
Boom.
So there's my enhanced monitoring.
And so, what do we? Is it? I guess it's default to consider one test failure a failure.
Yep, that is out of one location, so that's also configurable down there if you want to say count 5 of them to make it a little bit less prone to, I guess, type 1 errors.
Yeah.
So maybe let's say if we get 2 locations.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, what if there's a problem with just distributed cloud? We got 3. I mean, like, God forbid, but. So let's go with 4 failed locations. Tell me it's a problem.
Oh, you're going crazy. Okay. EU Central 1 is Frankfurt. There you go.
Cool.
We'll edit that later, Daniel, to change that out.
So it should take about a minute or so for the first monitor interval to run, and then it'll start gathering data for you.
And it looks like we also have someone joining in from France as well. So, France. That's a city in France I've not heard of. Paris, Lyon, sure, but France. I don't know. All right. So, well, that was ridiculously easy, Evan. I mean, like that's the idea of how to get it going for one particular monitor, right?
When you go to the DNS monitor, the DNS monitor here is not necessarily monitoring our DNS zone files or anything like that. It's really just monitoring the performance of looking up our URL. Is that correct?
Sorry, I was looking at that error code. Could you repeat that, Jason?
Oh, no, you're good. So for a DNS monitor, we put our same URL in there, and it's just going to do the lookup time for that.
It'll check. Yep. If you go actually to the DNS monitors, we can do a quick walkthrough as well. If you add a DNS monitor,
let me turn the logo off so you can actually see. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, you can specify the domain and then the record type, whether it's an A record or if you want to check, a CNAME configuration, and it'll make sure that the record is resolving appropriately.
So am I putting in an
So is that,
FQDN
are we
here
putting the FQDN there?
or domain?
Domain.
Okay. So the domain would just be xc.jimmypackets.com.
Correct.
Okay, and then A records.
And then you can specify where to monitor from.
Let's just do simple on this one. Let's do a
US East 2.
sure. And we can do all this. Asia Pac East 1 and EU. Where's EU West 2? There it is.
He was EU Central, I think. 1. Although
Yeah.
maybe we don't have that in AWS. Okay.
Yeah, it's not one of our points in AWS that we used. Okay. And then how to monitor.
Yeah, if you wanted to specify any custom name servers here, or you could just default to 0.0.0.0 or 1.1.1.1.
So
if you don't
that's just an
specify a
optional.
custom one, we'll go with our default one.
Okay.
Default works. So let's see how this works. Number of monitors, just an A record monitor. Oh, interesting. So you can do it by record type. I love it.
Yep. And then you can actually click through on the A record that is underlined if you want to click through to the actual monitor table, and that'll filter it down to the appropriate one. Critical.
No, yeah, we're getting some stuff already. That's interesting. If we're getting stuff already, maybe we've got some stuff back in the HTTP monitor. Which it.
Yep, and if you go up to all monitors at the top on the right, next to monitor map.
There. Oh,
yeah.
hey.
There. Yep. You can check out. And then you can just click in. There you go.
Hey, we have some data.
All right.
There's
Cool.
that 96. Average latency is okay. Wow.
And then if you're interested in comparing the different regions' performance, you can always hit that regional tab near the top.
Lagos, Nigeria. Hey, welcome.
Holy cow.
And so our server processing, you click over there on the
Yeah, look at that. Server processing. So much.
418. All right. So, well, yeah, some of that I think is because that TLS handshake, they're probably hitting regional edge over there. So the server processing is all the time from the handshake at the regional edge across the pond over to us and going through XC infrastructure to our CE and back. And I'm guessing it's at that point where that's so, if I were to have any kind of a feedback to the way this is processed, it is just, maybe there's additional metrics between the TLS handshake and the workload in the XC infrastructure. So there's a little bit more information on whether that's like time to first byte actually by the server processing or, and I don't know that's probably the way it's built that's probably not possible. Just one of those things that I think that server processing is probably not as accurate of a name if that TLS handshake is all the way in an edge and your compute is across the world. A lot more than just the server is processing there. And so just, yeah. So there's a feedback here. We configure what's the subject of the meeting. What we're doing here is we're doing synthetic monitoring within distributed cloud. And it's, our ability to monitor from a simulated perspective on how the workloads that you are hosting in distributed cloud are working. And so we have a test app if you go to up in the comments, you go to that app, jrtest.xe.jimmypackets.com. That is running on a customer edge in Aubrey's house and my house that we are hosting in a virtual Kubernetes cluster across 2 different, data centers. They're Intel NUCs sitting in our offices. And so the front door of that is the HTTP load balancer that is, anycasted around the world. And so however you get to that, that experience is not monitored from a standpoint of our infrastructure until today, where we have built a synthetic monitor to be able to do that. And those synthetic monitors are hosted in AWS or different F5 distributed cloud locations. And so they are then looking at our URL, which is the HTTP load balancer built within distributed cloud. And it's looking at the different steps of, DNS lookup, TLS handshake, server processing, all these different things, and then giving back feedback data on all of that. Quick, like 2-second or like a 30-second recap on what we're doing.
Yeah, and I got to say, this is pretty neat that I have the ability. The alert receivers thing is really handy. I like that a lot. To be able to just plug this directly into my Slack. I mean, that's great. And now, did you say that Teams is coming? Teams integration?
A generic webhook, right? So then you can plug it into anything. Okay. Yeah, you could plug it into a CI/CD pipeline to where, so if you make a deploy and your monitors go nuts, you can have it in your CI/CD toolchain to say, oh, that's not good. Let me go ahead and roll that back, and we'll send a message to whoever to maybe take a look at why that was so bad, and then then they can roll forward again. But yeah, generic webhook, so that can go to that, or it can go we can build that into Teams like we did for the Celsius to Fahrenheit converter. For was that just for Boo, or was that for more teammates to just to be able to quickly be able to translate the temperature, so we're all on the same page on our team? We have
for Boo.
Yeah, we have a globally distributed team, and globally I mean U.S. and Canada, but those Canadians up north use Celsius like the rest of the world, and so yeah.
So I guess anyway, it's not really for Boo. It's more for us.
Yeah,
it's not for Boo. It's for us. All right,
that's true. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. That's amazing, right? That's now. I guess. Do we want to? We probably ought to look at the DNS. Well, it looks like it's going critical, but.
Yeah, I misspoke earlier, Aubrey. You're going to want to put in the FQDN there. So you can actually edit that. Yep. If you go in there, hit manage config, you can just add JRTest2 top right edit. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep, and just change that to JRTest2. There you go. Perfect.
So just feedback for the XC team. The manage config is on the left here, but other places it's on the right. Just right. From a consistency standpoint. Yeah. I like it all to be in the same place because I have trouble reading.
Look at that. It's better. It told me already it's better.
The trend is better.
Was critical.
That's pretty fast. Yeah.
I like that. That's really quick that it told me it's better.
Yeah. Hey, there we go.
There she goes. Beautiful.
It wasn't lying. It is healthy. It's better. Okay. Now also the thing that I was talking about with JSON, right? So I guess that probably would warrant a quick look. So if I wanted to maybe make a second monitor for JR test 1, in theory, I'm imagining I could
manager config and then go to JSON. Yep.
So if I copy this and then get out of here, then I can go back and create a new one, right? Where can I get that?
Did you select the DNS or the HTTP on that one?
HTTP.
Okay.
And at least I thought I did. Synth 1. Yes, Synth 1. That's exactly what it was. The receive string is welcome, but we want to change this to JR test 1. So that
and
is
you'll need a New name. Yep.
Synth 2. Yeah.
Synth 2.
Synth 2 for test 1 and Synth 1 for test 2. We are awesome at naming things.
That is, yes. There we go. So I did just paste that and create a brand new endpoint monitor, which we can see it just has no data. So again, if this is your first exposure to distributed cloud, I mean, geez, just imagine the power on your big IP. If you could take a look at that VIP and look at the JSON of the VIP, copy, paste it to a new VIP, and just change a couple characters, and you got new VIPs. That's amazing. What a great power. I really love it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, Evan, any parting thoughts before we wrap up here?
I think we covered a lot of stuff today. I guess I would just get back on my soapbox again and say, if the application is important enough to be delivered, it's important enough to be monitored.
There you go. That needs to go on a t-shirt. Like make that. I need a laptop sticker for that and a t-shirt. So
I'll get right on that.
Get on it.
All right. Appreciate you being here and sharing with us today, Evan.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Well, Aubrey, we are we're almost to the top of the hour, but we're done. And this time, like all the other times, we're actually closing with 100% success. I will say the last show we built everything, and then we had trouble with the very last step, and that was getting the workload to respond, right? And so we got everything, and it was working. The challenge was I was trying to make a port respond where the Nginx workload that I deployed was not listening on. So like we were trying to build the connector origin pool of 8080, port 8080, but the Nginx target was port 80. And so if I would have made the target 80, it would have worked just fine. And so that was, my issue with not tracking all the ports to what they are through the system. And so,
it's a learning process.
Yeah.
It's a learning process.
Yep. So yeah, on the distributed cloud side of things, everything was configured the way it was supposed to work. And if I had deployed a workload on port 8080 instead of port 80, it would have worked fine. Or if I would have just, configured distributed cloud in a way to where it hit the target port of 8080, it would have been fine too. So that was just my misunderstanding of what the container that I was deploying was actually listening on. So if you're watching back last one where we built everything in an hour, we were totally successful in that way. It's just like that one little thing at the end that got us. So Daniel, thank you so much. And I seen t-shirt. Absolutely. I want that for sure. So, all right. Well, I think we're done. So we'll be back. We've got some other things to do with our app. We're going to look at maybe how to incorporate NASs, a network attached storages or storage. Just how to build a NAS into your customer edge and make that useful storage from from distributed cloud, and we got a lot of other services that we're going to build out as well. So we'll keep doing these, and I like the idea of going through a troubleshooting exercise, and I would love to see us do a performance one and look through how do we track and test how traffic is flowing through distributed cloud through all the different hot points. And so maybe we'll bring Coleman or Chaz back on for that to just kind of walk through all the different touch points within distributed cloud and how we actually get monitoring in those touch points to be able to make sense of our performance graphs and all that server processing time. And so add a WAF policy. I think we have a WAF policy on this.
We couldn't add it because of the port 80 thing. So I don't know if that got back on, but we can, we can probably get that done in the first 2 seconds of the next show. So, All right, Daniel, I'll remind me.
Yep. But I also want to go through the service policies. I want to go through, all the different abilities to manage headers and routes and all these things, because there are the more I attend meetings inside and how how powerful distributed cloud is, the more I'm just like, wow, we need to do that. We need to do that. We need to do that. There's so much for us to share. And so I'm looking forward to where we go with this series. But with that said, thank you everyone for being with us today. Join us out in the community, which is community.f5.com. Ask us questions in the forums, read the tremendous articles that are going. You want to learn about distributed cloud, the articles that are hitting on a weekly basis at community.ff.com are tremendous. The authors are doing a great job bringing the wealth of information to the masses. But get it there, community.ff.com, and reach out, say hi. We're on all the socials, and don't be a stranger. So we'll see you again soon. Boo is out this week. There was no DevCentral Connects, and he's enjoying his time away from the office. Hopefully a little cooler up there than it is here in the Midwest. But he'll be back soon. So look for DevCentral Connects again soon. And we'll be back with the Build It Live here probably 2-3 weeks. I'm in the process of getting out the door of Illinois to Missouri. So, I'm going to be in and out of the office as well, but we'll be back soon. So everyone take care. Thank you for being here. And yeah, that's it.
Bye for now.